How does the free market work in China? Well, basically, not everything gets to be included in the free market. The reasoning is that the whole point of the free market is to create competition and innovation. So if an industry is 1. Easy to monopolize, 2. Doesn't have a lot of potential for innovation, or 3. Is generally vital for the nation's security, then the government owns it. Meaning many large corporations that are privately owned in America would be government owned in China, such as American Airlines, Bank of America, Cisco, Comcast, ExxonMobil, and FedEx. But alright, if the government owned these services, wouldn't it be super inefficient? Wouldn't everything turn into the DMV? I mean, the government is always slow, right? Since no profit to chase means it has no motivation to move fast. Well, the thing is, a lot of these type of corporations in America already deliver poor service and charge high prices for them. Comcast, for example, charges $100 a month for internet that isn't always super reliable, and they have terrible customer service, which they can get away with because they're usually the only internet service provider in entire regions. So they don't have any motivation to make the service better. And chasing profit in this scenario just means jacking up prices with no consequences. And I don't necessarily think the Chinese government-owned equivalent has magical internet, but they provide the same service for $15 a month, since government officials are incentivized to keep its citizens happy so they can safely stay in power, and not incentivized to extract as much profit as possible. And when the government does collect a profit from these corporations, it can invest those profits in trains, schools, and infrastructure. This makes the whole country richer rather than just a few shareholders. And it means that Chinese citizens don't have to pay as much in taxes to help fund all this infrastructure. It means that Chinese citizens actually pay a lower tax rate than Americans, even though America is supposed to be this low tax, low welfare free market state. On the other hand, China does recognize that there are industries where the free market does a way better job than the government could ever do. These are usually fast-moving, creative, or innovative industries, such as tech startups, film studios, clothing brands, restaurants, things like that. However, these private companies are generally only allowed to exist if they make life better. For example, China does not allow any companies, and is openly called a certain popular subscription-based one immoral and degenerate Western influence. Some libertarians will say this is government overreach, since the government is deciding what you don't get to watch. But China's perspective is that someone should not be allowed to make a profit off of corrupting the rest of society. The whole point of a free market is to reward people with profit for benefiting society. Of course, what counts as benefiting society depends on your personal values. China has their own values and takes a lot of pride in preserving its culture. It isn't willing to completely degrade its civilization for the sake of GDP growth or for the sake of total adherence and blind worship of free market principles. Now, the biggest irony of all is this: because you can only really get rich by creating genuinely good things for the country, it means that the rich in communist China are actually not really hated like the rich are in capitalist America. And the Chinese government has explicitly said that they don't believe in hurting the rich to help the poor, as this would punish those who create good things for the country. However, when the rich in China try to do bad things, like trying to bribe officials, monopolize markets, or game the system with financial trickery, they get severely punished for it. So they do those bad things way less, and they aren't hated by the public. As an example, people don't really like the AI guys in America, but the DeepSeek founder isn't hated or seen as this evil dude who's trying to take over the world. He was celebrated as a national hero. He created a product that went toe-to-toe with the American giants, even though he had 20 times less financing, and he open sourced it. So when he flew back to his hometown, he was met with a hero's welcome, with hundreds of his fellow classmates, hometown friends, family, and neighbors chanting his name.